him. But Mheshimiwa Kenan, what do you make of the affairs that you have witnessed the past 6 or so weeks, and also that commitment by Professor Kindiki? Because we have heard that before. Indeed, Rigathi Gachagua committed to the president that he would be loyal and to give him counsel to help him deliver on the agenda of the presidency. He said it in more eloquent terms than I have. But if
thank you so much. I think we need to go back to, first of all, to understand both the letter and the spirit of the current constitution, and historically the role of any vice president or deputy president. In the current context, or under the current constitution, we have, even when they came together, it must have been in the form of a president, a presidential candidate, and a running mate. And that is what the framers of the current constitution had in mind. Meaning, therefore, even before you get a running mate, you must do a bit of an interview. You must look at the chemistry. You must look at, that, you must dissect that person and come and get a person who will align with your thoughts, who will not be of different political philosophy. And therefore, when we have had a president and deputy president, under the current, that formed the presidency. So what missed over the last 2 years is these two individuals were not reading from the same script. Actually, it's like we didn't even know who was the boss, who was the deputy, who was the principal assistant, who was given instructions, and we got so many contradictory statements, some in the form of threats, some in the form of information. And therefore, what Professor Kindiki comes to and begins with, first of all, these are two PhD holders. So in the academic world, or in the academia world where they are right now, you expect certain appreciations of norms and respect and civility on how things are done. Now, what Professor Kindiki, taking into account where we are and what we went through, he's reassuring his boss first. He's reassuring his boss, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya, that he's going to be a loyal, functioning principal assistant, not an antagonistic deputy president. That's the first. Two, is also assuring the nation that he is not going to be cantankerous in the way things have been over the last 2 years, and therefore he is going to be a man of immense civility on how he conducts his public affairs. Three, he's also assuring the people of Mount Kenya that notwithstanding what has happened, he's going to be a man of all seasons, and he's going to stand and unite that particular region. Equally, he's also assuring the international community that, look, Kenya...
When did he say he's going to unite the region?
You see, look at the message. The message is loaded. Look at that message. When you say you are going to be loyal, it doesn't mean that loyalty will only be limited to the president. That loyalty now encompasses everything. And then the other bit is government exists in perpetuity. And therefore, even as he does...
Mheshimiwa Kenan, part of the reason why you impeached Rigathi Gachagua is because he appeared to propagate the affairs of Mount Kenya region more than the Republic.
You see, and I wish you had allowed me to say this. You see, there has been a lot of theories that this region is being targeted, so-and-so is being targeted, I'm going to my village, I'm going to do this. This is about the national affairs of the Republic of Kenya, and that is the essence of having the deputy president. Look at the presidency. The presidency is the president, the deputy president, isn't it? It's not, and they are tied at the hips. So what the professor was doing is the starting point. It's called the first impression impact in psychology. First impression impact, sir, you have gone through challenges. Even the president himself admitted that over the last 2 years, he had difficulties. Difficulties, first of all, in implementing the government decision, in making public pronouncement, in lacking somebody who will be outside there other than himself to go and put the government policies in perspective. So if what Professor Kindiki did actually was the right thing. Okay. Sir, you have had challenges. Sir, your deputy was removed. Sir, maybe the chemistry might have been contradictory. I am here as a loyal Professor Kindiki. That's the first. Two, constitutionally, I'll be working under you with your guidance. And remember, being loyal first to the president, being loyal to the people of Kenya, being loyal to the constitution, and even being loyal to yourself, because at the end of the day, you have also a conscience. And I think that's what he was trying, and any other person will have done. That is called the entry point. First impression, impact. He has done it very well. What remains next? Look at the history. What were the pitfalls and the challenges of his predecessor? How did we end up where we are right now, or where things have ended up until that impeachment process? That path must also be avoided. How can it be avoided? By being familiar with the pitfalls. And I think that's what the professor has done. And finally, this. Remember, when you are elected, this is not Kindiki, the candidate. It's not Ruto, the candidate. It is Ruto, the president of the Republic of Kenya, the 50 million plus. He's going to be the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. And therefore, you have to shed off certain traits and ensure that you are a person who carries the image of the Republic of Kenya. And that's the one thing that has been missing. All right,
Mheshimiwa Kenan, I hear you, and I noticed that you've moved away from your comment about uniting the Mount Kenya region, because for sure he didn't say anything about that. But let's listen to the president saying that he has been a loner at the presidency.
I have almost become a lonely voice in the executive, especially in the presidency, speaking about our projects, speaking about our programs, elaborating on what we are doing. I am confident that you will do that which I have missed for the last 2 years. My brother, our manifesto is elaborate. Our manifesto is transformative. We are implementing it page by page, paragraph by paragraph, chapter by chapter, because we have to transform this great nation, and failure is not an option.
Failure is not an option. The president there, Senator Manzo. So the president has a new deputy, you know, the troubles that he went through while working with the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua. He believes he has overcome that. What must he do to succeed?
You know, sometimes people should look themselves at the mirror. This trouble started 7 years ago. You remember what happened between President Ruto and President Uhuru Kenyatta. So when you come and say there will be any change, Rigathi Gachagua was fought by the members of parliament even before President Ruto chose him. And President Ruto is the one who personally chose Rigathi Gachagua for a simple reason. The presidency in Kenya since 2013, and since we started applying the new constitution, is a core presidency. President Ruto was a co-president of President Uhuru when he was his deputy. And that's a reality. Because you see, they had to come together, and if you look at the voting bloc they caused, it was of that nature. Now, there were two candidates for deputy president of William Ruto. That one was Kindiki, the other one was Rigathi. And there was a big fight, you know, as MPs tried to wrestle it, and finally, the president convinced them that he wanted Rigathi for a simple reason. If he had taken Kindiki then, probably would not have clinched the presidency. And therefore, he chose where there were more numbers, and then Kindiki was very upset for a moment and accepted it, and later on became the minister. He's a very brilliant young man, and he's very capable, just like any other deputy president. The question is, will the problem be Kindiki or the problem is elsewhere? And therefore, we want to wish them well, and we want this country developed, and we want the so-called manifesto implemented, because I don't think there is any manifesto at all. There are many other characters who also run the presidency.
What do you mean you don't think there's any manifesto at all?
So far, you have seen what has happened in the country. Everything is being handled on a ad hoc basis. It's like decisions come. You know, there's no consistency. You want to see development going on. That's the main goal. But what do you have? While all this trouble of Rigathi was going on, you have Shah and Schiff, which is not working. And I can testify, as a member of parliament, serving a lot of Kenyans and receiving feedback from hospitals, you know, every other minute. And health is a very crucial matter in the country. At the same time, you have the airport. You know, the leaky waters and the Adani deals going on. At the same time, you know, when all this trouble was going on and we were in court, you remember what was happening. There was a court judgment on the levies. And therefore, I don't think Rigathi did anything.
But Senator, to be fair, you said there is no manifesto. Housing levy, affordable housing was part of the manifesto. The health program was part of the manifesto.
They have been implemented wrongly. You are busy procuring...
by the legislature, including the house you sit in.
Of course. There's no legislature in the country anymore. The legislature is under capture. The judiciary is under implementation. And therefore, You know, when you say all these things are being approved, there is no proper input of public participation in the country. The citizens don't really participate in these things. And therefore, there is a big problem. Every single government project for development has stalled, including Thwake Dam. Why? Treasury is not...
We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. And I'm just wondering if you see anything changing with the coming on board of Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki.
I don't see anything changing. He will deputize the president as required by the Constitution. He may advise or may not advise. I believe, as an intelligent young man, he's going to do a good job. But at the same time, there are so many disruptions into the presidency by a lot of by the business cartels. And therefore, delivery will be a very difficult thing. Okay. And therefore, if Rigathi made any mistakes, because we have made a presidency, we have made a precedence on how to deal with the deputy presidents or probably presidents, that it is the easiest thing to do. You know, it is next to impossible to remove a member of parliament, to impeach a member of parliament. But now it is so easy to impeach a deputy president or, you know, a president when it is predetermined.
Okay. When it's predetermined, you say. I'm just wondering, due process, you haven't seen it, but I'll get back to you. But first, let's listen to the president and his deputy as they spoke about the work ahead of them.
Protect. My brother Abrake, I listen to you. The people of Kenya were listening to you. Serve without bias, without ill will, without favor, without affection, and without fear.
Okay, there was another part of that clip that I wanted us to hear of the Deputy President, but you'll look for it. But Deputy Speaker, the culmination of a very protracted process, many months of bickering, we've seen a lot of, there were a lot of allegations even before the impeachment motion found itself to the House. What do you make of that process now?
I think what the process that happened was also testing our own system and testing our democracy and testing our constitution and our laws. Because it's one thing to say that it is possible to impeach a president or a deputy president, but to actually go through the motions. And in this time, we were even lucky because we had the input of the judiciary. The judiciary was able to interpret the manner in which it was conducted. The judiciary was able to develop new ground of jurisprudence on the matter, which we have never had an opportunity. So even as a student of law, I think this is an exciting time because it had never been tested before. Before it was just in our books. And so this gave us an opportunity, and it means we have actually fine-tuned the manner in which we shall conduct impeachments in future. It has also sent a clear message that actually that portion on impeachment or that article on impeachment in our constitution is not impotent. It can actually happen. We also had the opportunity, and it's the same for anything else that have been brought before the courts. As Senator Mahanzo here was saying, he's talking about the the social health insurance coming before the courts. There is nothing negative about that. It is that way it guides the way we implement things going forward, and it is a positive development. But in terms of what you mentioned about the deputy president coming in, and what are the expectations by Kenyans of him, those expectations are not expectations that are manufactured. Those are expectations that are in the Constitution. And if you listen clearly to the oath of solemn affirmation of due execution of the office of the Deputy President, the accusations against the former Deputy President were actually based on this. Yes. He went against his own oath. In fact, listen to this where it says that I will faithfully and truly give my counsel and advice to the President of the Republic of Kenya, that I will do justice without fear or favor. That means he wouldn't favor any region, any place, and he would give counsel to the President. And I will not directly or indirectly reveal such matters as shall come to my knowledge in the discharge of my duties. And he constantly did that in public. because things that had been clearly discussed in cabinet and resolved by cabinet, he would come on national television, radio stations, public rallies, and go against what they had decided in cabinet, going against Article 153, going even against his own oath of office as a member of the National Security Council. So those accusations were not out of the blue. They were not manufactured by members of parliament. They were completely lifted out of the Constitution. And in fact...
How did he contravene Article 153?
Sorry? There is the article of collective responsibility. Cabinet.
Yeah, but it binds cabinet secretaries.
Yeah, yes, but he's a member of cabinet.
He's not a cabinet secretary.
He's not a cabinet secretary, but he sits in cabinet together. Remember, cabinet is composed of the president, the deputy president, the attorney general, and cabinet secretaries. And there is the issue of collective responsibility. He cannot extract himself while he has sat as a member of cabinet.
No, I'm not disputing. I just want to understand your reading, because decisions, a decision by the cabinet shall be in writing. That is 153.1. 2 says cabinet secretaries are accountable individually and collectively to the president for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. A cabinet secretary shall attend before a committee of the National Assembly, and so much more. Yeah. Then cabinet secretaries shall act in accordance with this constitution and provide parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control.
Okay, go back to cabinet. Just remember, sitting as cabinet.
Sorry?
I'm saying, I'm referring to the beginning part.
Yeah.
The rest are the details.
Yes.
Now referring to specific cabinet
decisions,
secretaries.
Responsibility and accountability of the cabinet.
Yes, cabinet.
Then breaks
and he
down.
is a member. Yes, then he breaks down. So I'm talking about him as deputy president, as a member of cabinet. And the same obligation and responsibility is also placed on the president. Even the president sitting in cabinet, a decision that has been made by cabinet, the president cannot come out in rallies and say, by the way, I disassociate myself from the decision of cabinet.
Okay.
Collective responsibility says either you accept what has been decided as cabinet collectively, or you resign as a member of cabinet, but you can't have your cake and eat it. In fact, it's the highest level of gross misconduct and contravention of our constitution. To talk about intelligence matters of the country, again, that is the highest contravention of anything. So, and that's why I'm saying it is good that Kenyans can now focus that taking the oath of office is not for show or a ceremony for pomp. You're actually committing yourself. And if anyone, including the current deputy president, contravenes this oath, they are actually liable for impeachment. Okay. So I think that should be the clarity that should be put in. And I think on the issue that was being said that there is a co-presidency, I think, again, that is just, that is street and pedestrian talk. That is not the way it is. There is the president, and the deputy president is the principal assistant of the president, which means he's supposed to assist the president, because it's envisaged that there will be some duties that the president will want to give others. And also, in a case where the president is incapacitated, every country needs a backup that you actually have somebody so that we have continuity in the presidency. So you're supposed to support the president. It doesn't mean that you're equals with the president, and it doesn't mean that you can dare contradict the president. And this is it is a human resource rule. I mean, I cannot imagine myself as deputy speaker contravening a ruling or contradicting a ruling that has already been pronounced by the substantive speaker. That is gross misconduct.
Okay.
And it is insubordination. There is no other language for it. And it's the same in every other employment rule. And it's what we teach our children in school. And so it's just general good manners. And again, and what I want to say is that the message that was very clear during the swearing in was that the new deputy president is expected to carry himself as the president of the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, because even when he takes his oath of allegiance, he says that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya, and to preserve and protect the Constitution, and the integrity and the dignity of the people. So when you start isolating people from a certain region, you're actually you're indignifying them. Including those that you're saying you own, you're also indignifying them. So I think for the first time, Kenyans must interrogate and listen very carefully to these oaths of office, because it gives a clear direction on the manner in which the Deputy President must conduct himself and carry out his duties.
Okay.
And lastly, as to just also to respond to Senator Manzo, Senator Manzo and I must tell you, Senator Manzo, I'm getting very worried even sitting next to you, because you're very toxic and very negative. Everything is bad, but you're not giving us a solution. You know, it's very easy to stand on the treetops and say that the social health insurance is not working. The question is, you don't have the social health insurance, it means, what do you want us to have as sick people? No. People being bankrupted as families because one member of the family is sick, or for us to continuously do harambes? And for people not to be able to get health care? When you tell us you don't want affordable housing, what is the other option? You want people to live in slums? Do you pride yourself that you go to live in a nice house, yet there are people that as you're driving home past Kibra, people are living in a place where there's no sanitation, there's no water, and in such indignity. So again, we must ask ourselves, if we have to change our country, certain painful programs must happen. And it's not that it's painful because there's nothing good coming out of it. Something good will come out of it. When you are buying your house, I'm sure, Senator Manzo, you paid a mortgage, and it was difficult. But eventually, you became a homeowner. Let other people have an opportunity to do that. You can't tell us you want us to be a government that folds our hands and does nothing. When you look at the funding model of universities, again, you tell yourself, what's the option if we don't have it? That means there'll be people who are dropouts, who will never be able to go to university or to go to TVET or to get an education. Yet you, Senator Manzo, benefited from the Higher Education Loans Board and the scholarship model part. It was there. It has just been enhanced. So what you should be telling us is, in order to improve it, I think this is what you should do. Okay. And I think I take great exception when you actually say that you've said that Parliament is useless and that it's under capture and so on. So first of all, I'm challenging you, please resign as a senator. If you think that institution that you're sitting in, earning a salary, being entitled to certain perks, and yet you think it's rubbish and that it serves no good, if you're an honorable man, please resign as senator, because you don't believe in the institution. Okay. That's why I'm saying you're behaving like Rigathi Gachagua. You want to have your cake and eat it. The cabinet is not doing right, but I still want to stay in cabinet, and I still want to be deputy president. I think it is wrong. Let us be honorable. Let us respect the institutions that we work for. So I'm actually expecting your resignation as senator. If not, I also will be asking Senate to make you apologize for saying that, because you have no specifics, you have no specific facts on issues, you have no evidence, but yet you trash an institution, and yet you're collecting salary every day.
Mheshimiwa Kenya, I'll get to you, but let me allow him a right of reply, because a few things have been said to you.
I think I will have added, and then
he can reply once.
He can reply once.
Yes.
He has
castigated. No, he has castigated the institution we work in.
I think it's good to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's also good to have a conscience. Some of us have been around, and I want to remind my good friend here to familiarize himself with the history of this country and Kenya, and to the components of statecraft. There can be no two presidents at any given time. That's why the instruments of power, and by definition, in our constitution, you know, the instruments of power is only conferred one person, the president. And that is what constitutes the sovereign republic of Kenya. And as a lawyer, I thought you'd be familiar with those basic tenets of our constitutional infrastructure. Two, we all live in the modern day Kenya, and you are aware. If truly, my good friend here, Mwanzo, if you don't believe in the role that you are doing, and truly you have a conscience, I want to agree with what the Deputy Speaker has said. You should have been the first one to say, because his conscience cannot be aligned with what is going on in Kenya, in particular in the house where he serves, because of what we are saying, he'll be the first one to say he is not entitled to the perks that he gets, and therefore he resigns and waits for another day. He has not done it. He's part of that institution, benefits from every aspect, and yet outside here, he wants to demean. I think that is totally uncalled for.
But Mheshimiwa Kenan, are there any shortcomings that you've seen with
Agreed.
Parliament?
Every institution has shortcomings. And I want to take this.
Not generally.
Allow me to say this.
Yeah.
You are a member of the citizen fraternity, isn't it?
Right.
Before you are given that job, there must be certain basic rules that you had to
believe in.
If you don't believe in them, you will not be part of this house that you serve, this facility. Equally the same, even us. So I really respect him. But I think you can just mention, because you have dismissed Parliament, you have said it doesn't exist, you have said the judiciary is under state capture, you have said the president doesn't exist. Then it only means that it's only Mwanzo in his feeble mind who is the best. Sorry, say this. I don't want to.
I think you can make your point.
Yes, let me withdraw that. Let me finish. I withdraw that bit of a good friend. Let me say it. I have withdrawn. It's only my good friend Mwanzo, who is a superhuman being.
Yes.
I want to remind him, I was a member of the 10th Parliament. You remember even when the sitting arrangement between the former, your current boss, I was a member of Parliament, your current boss, who is outside there shouting a lot of things, and his erstwhile enemy, you know the person, could not even agree on the sitting arrangement. That is part of the history of the Republic of Kenya. But that has given us also an opportunity to inform the constitutional changes that came in as a result of 2010 constitution. That is why some of those pitfalls actually had to be avoided, including coming up with the president. Because at that time, whoever was appointed deputy president actually was appointed after the election. But having said this, we are not saying everything is okay. We're not, there are challenges. Serious challenges, like any other society. If you go to America today, you can see, I follow the elections. I follow the elections fervently, actually. The kind of things that they talk about, that they discuss, is not different from the Kenyan society here. Because those are societal changes, some as a result of global changes, as a result of the dynamics within that country. So I think one thing that our brother here must accept, and this is one thing that we have learned, that two suppressions, this impeachment has brought to the fore four critical components of our constitution. Separations, let me finish this. Separations of institutional roles. The National Assembly did its work constitutionally. The Senate did its work constitutionally. The judiciary did its work constitutionally. And more fundamentally, the Constitution functioned because ultimately it demonstrated that all of us, regardless of what we do, are accountable to the Constitution. That's why even
help us here, Mheshimiwa Kenan, because you've been at the House for many years. This is your fourth or fifth term?
More than that even. Yes.
I think it's your fifth term.
Yes.
But was there whipping from outside Parliament?
You have disrupted me, because what I was trying to say is, look at the impeachment process.
Yes.
The former deputy president was not just removed from office unceremoniously. There were allegations. Those allegations were subjected to the due process. What is the due process? A member had to contextualize the allegations, frame them in legal terms, bring them to the National Assembly. The National Assembly had to get the requisite numbers.
Was there whipping from outside the House?
Let me finish. Whipping is part of our parliamentary process. That's why parties have whips.
Was there whipping from outside the House?
Look at the infrastructure of political parties. Every party has a whip. It's a norm. Even here, I'm sure, you have attire as somebody who...
The party leader
and a party leader. So this is the bit that I wanted you to understand.
Will you answer my question? Was there whipping from outside the House?
I don't know. Me, I was not whipped. I felt I was duty bound. I'm finishing. I'm finishing. And I think this is the important point, my good friend. I'm trying to justify why all of us, and luckily, I am proud to be a Kenyan.
All right.
Because all of us are accountable. I'm finishing this. All of us are accountable to this constitution. To the people of Kenya. How? When the Honorable Mutuse, in his own wisdom, decided that there were allegations that warrant an impeachment, he just think outside. He just sit outside. He came, contextualized them, conceived them, brought them to the National Assembly. After the National Assembly, after that, it had to be subjected to the due process. Put them in motion, take them to the Speaker for approval, take them to the House Business Committee, take them to the floor of the House, the National Assembly.
That's all right.
The National Assembly made a decision. It goes to the Senate. My friend here had an opportunity.
And
it went to the Senate.
The
Senate
and the judges
had to
decision
as a trial house. And then it went to the judiciary. The judiciary made. This is why we have to be very proud of both the independence, the interdependence of our constitution and our general accountability and adherence to this reformist constitution. And that's why today I say proudly, it's not like before where we'll have roadside constitutional declarations, all of us, and I like the way the deputy speaker has put it, that all of us, that oath of affirmation clearly demonstrates that the framers of the current constitution had in mind total adherence to constitutional.
That's a comment, Kenan.
Yes,
Senator, a lot of questions that have been raised. Maybe first you
first I want to say that the current constitution has done very well. And there's definitely a very big improvement from what we used to have.
Some positivity at least.
Yes, there's a very big improvement from what we used to have in the previous constitution. But I want to note that the sovereignty of the people of Kenya does not belong to the presidency or parliament. It belongs to the people. That cannot be taken away from the constitution, although it has been abused. And it is the people who donate power to the president. They also donate power to judiciary and donate power to the House. And that's where, if they are unhappy with any of that, in every 5 years' time, then they should be able to change parliament, they should be able to change the presidency, and the power belongs to them and can never be taken away from them. I really want to say that when you say there is collective responsibility and there is an oath of affirmation, but then the cabinet goes wrong. The cabinet makes a decision to go and remove people from the riverside. They don't give them sufficient notice as required by a good practice of the constitution. And in the process, people lose their lives. And in the process, the people are lied to by the politician. The biggest problem in Kenya are promises which are never honored by the presidency. And that defeats the whole purpose of a constitution if your own word as a president means nothing. And therefore, if I were Rigathi, I would do the same. If the cabinet has a wrong decision and an unconstitutional decision, and in its implementation, lives are lost, if that is a wrong decision, it must be reviewed. And somebody must speak about it. Parliament must speak about it. It is quiet.
Correct.
The deputy president must speak about it. If people, you know, there comes a time you must stop it. If
Senator
it is
Manzo,
illegal,
let me just correct you.
No, let me finish. Because I listened to both of you quietly. This is what happened. You killed the people as a government. Did you want now a deputy president to keep quiet when people are dead? Then secondly, whether it's a cabinet decision, it could be illegal. It may be implemented wrongly. Then when it comes to the judiciary, there is no good law which has come of judiciary out of this. The constitution, the same constitution of Kenya, very good constitution, says you can no longer make decisions on technicalities. There was no trial. We should have gone, you know the decision of the National Assembly and the decision of the Senate, all of them are subjective to the authority of the judiciary. The High Court has inherent jurisdiction to deal with this. But the High Court was never allowed to do this. What happened with the High Court?
was not allowed?
What happened with the High Court is this. There were technicalities, preliminary objections raised in both sides. And on the second one of lifting the court order of the High Court in Kirugoya, that was the end of everything. What would have happened in ordinary circumstances where the judiciary is not under pressure is to hear the whole matter from beginning to the end, and a serious decision made, allowed to go to the Court of Appeal, allowed to go to Supreme Court. In fact, one lawyer argued that the person with the jurisdiction was the Supreme Court. There was the issue of IBC, which does not exist. It was never tried. And therefore, in my own opinion, there is no decision you can make out of this. What has happened is totally unconstitutional. Kenyans are watching. Kenyans know their constitution.
How was judiciary pressured?
The judiciary was under pressure. You remember, even before a final decision could be made, there were already arrangements for the swearing in.
I think with due respect,
sorry.
with due respect, he's making a very scandalous...
No, let's allow him.
That's the truth.
Let me
That's the constitution of Kenya.
Senator Manzo.
That's the constitution of Kenya, which every Kenyan knows and can read for themselves.
What pressure was that? And what do you mean when you said that there are preparations for the swearing in?
Even, even before the court could make its decision, the preparation for swearing in were going on.
How do you know that?
KICC was built overnight?
KICC was already being prepared.
It was built overnight.
And telephones, telephones were being...
Ask him when KICC was built.
While we were still in court, while we were still in court, preparations were going on. I would expect a good planning government anyway to prepare for the outcome of a court decision. But why did the court not go through the whole constitution? The whole process. Because,
Senator Manzo, we saw 3 judges sitting, listening to submissions from both sides and making a decision. Where did the pressure come from? I will say this. The courts, by throwing away the preliminary issues, the courts, in my opinion, and while I disagree with what the court did, and I'm sure many Kenyans disagree, should have gone into a full trial. The same constitution, our own constitution says, you know, in the previous constitution, many court cases ended on technicalities. We no longer end court cases on technicalities. There has to be occasioned a full hearing. So what was the technicality? Gachagua was never given an opportunity to be heard. What was the technicality you're talking about? But the technicality you speak about, which one is it? You know, the matter was decided on technicalities only. There were preliminary objections. Which technicality? I would say one of it was that there were preliminary objections on, first of all, the judges were asked to recuse themselves. Which they made a decision about? Sufficient reasons were given. What did they do? They said we will not recuse themselves. We took the matter to appeal. The Court of Appeal was not available. And it delayed so well. In fact, what happened is this. The Constitution was not broken, but was bent. And every loophole within the law was utilized to kick out Gachagua. Who is supposed to decide when the Court of Appeal you know, I'm just saying, these are indications of a captured judiciary. It was extremely frustrating, and that's why even an holiday was declared on Friday, so that one cannot appeal on the decision made previous night by the judiciary. Therefore, when an holiday is declared, you have no court to approach. And I still want to say But I thought the assumption of office, the Act talks about the president shall be sworn in on a day that will be a public holiday. And it may follow then that the deputy president should be given the same treatment. Not when they are pending appeals. If the matter is being contested by the High Court. If the matter is being contested, then that opportunity should be given. Unfortunately, was there a court order clearing the path for Professor Kindiki? Even if there was a court, it was immediately challenged, and 7 days sought. What do you mean it was immediately challenged? Immediately challenged at the High Court. You know, immediately a case ends, you ask for stay. And the reason stay is given, which was not given. The reason stay is given by the High Court is to allow you to go to the next court, because one court can be wrong. And it was not given. This was not accorded. And therefore, we are saying the whole case is a flaw of, is an injustice, is unconstitutional. Kenyans should be watching, and Kenyans now also are going to become judges in 2027. You asked? We have a very good constitution. Kenyans must now judge this parliament, judge the judiciary, and judge the president in 2027. And bring in a new government where the constitution and the law can be followed. What has happened through the High Court, through Parliament, through the presidency is injustice to the people of Kenya, and the supporters of Gachagua and Gachagua himself. There is no justice at all in this country which was done. You asked that you should resign if you do not believe in the House. I have a reason why I cannot resign. There is no opposition in the country. The country has now formed an illegal government or situation, and you must be there to correct and check the government and be an alternative for the people of future. Now, if everybody who is dissatisfied with a bad government which is not following the constitution, which is using dictatorship, whereby parliament is under capture, judiciary is under capture, somebody must come out now and talk about it. If everybody resigns, cowards away, and goes and does not speak about it, the nation is finished. All right. So we must remove this dictatorship. As the people of Kenya, there must be IBC. There is no IBC. The question of IBC was not addressed in the courts. I think that's enough, isn't it? There must be, you know, you raised quite a number of issues. She was talking about the House. I'll get back to you, Senator. She was talking about the House. Sorry, we'll get back to that, I promise you. Yes. Let's just get on the capture of the judiciary. We'll get to the programs that you spoke about, don't worry. Yes. But allow me, yes, you know, I was just listening to Senator Manzo. He was my very good student.
But I think we need to have refresher classes. I'm going to give them pro bono. Now, let me explain. When you say, first of all, you've mentioned and said that the former deputy president was not given an opportunity to be heard. If you know, you are in Senate. What happens is, when you file your documentation for Senate, you actually file your sworn affidavit together with all your evidence attached, running into hundreds of pages. What happened is, when Rigathi Gachagua fell sick and left and did not come back, it's not that he had not been heard. Because even if he had stood there, he would have only stuck within what he has put in his affidavit. So his evidence was already before the Senate and had been served days before. So he cannot say I was not heard because I did not appear to speak verbally. In fact, normally, you're just basically highlighting. Okay. And sometimes the witness stands up and says, I'm adopting everything that is in my memoranda, my affidavit, and I'm not even adding I'm not saying anything. In fact, the people who are prejudiced was now the owner of the motion because they did not get the opportunity to cross-examine him. So there is nothing like not right to be heard. And I remember when the lawyers stormed out of Senate, again, you know, you cannot storm out of a trial court, which is what the Senate was, and then rush to another trial court and expect to get an audience. The minimum they could have done as senior counsel was to remain and try, because they already had instructions and had all the evidence and all the affidavits of their client, they could have still had an opportunity to highlight it if they wanted. So I think it is, in fact, I'm shocked that people like that can be given an audience. And that's what I'm saying, it's becoming misconduct on the part of lawyers. When Senator Manzo is also talking about the fact that they asked for a stay immediately, you must remember the hearing by the 3 judges was about the conservatory orders. That is what it was. A conservatory order is a stay order. And you know very well that conservatory orders only serve the purpose in case, if not given, can cause irreparable harm and damage. Yes? That means it is damage that cannot be quantified. And actually, if that conservatory order had remained, the Republic of Kenya would have suffered irreparable harm and damage, not Rigathi Gachagua. Because you have to see where the balance tilts. And in this case, you cannot then say, because you've declined to give me a conservatory order, then I still want another conservatory order. That is an oxymoron, and you know that. But
Deputy Speaker, 145(5) of the Constitution talks about the President, in this case Deputy President, shall have the right to appear and be represented before the special committee during its investigations. If you're to say special committee is the Senate when it was sitting, doesn't shall bind the House?
That he right to be heard?
To appear.
To appear.
Right to appear.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You have to realize he had already appeared. The process was in motion. He had already brought in his evidence. You can't say he was not heard because his evidence was there 3 days before. He had already filed...
So it doesn't mean being physically present?
No.
Being physically present is a good thing. But if he is not physically present because it's a time-bound process, already his evidence was before the House. So he was heard. He had already presented it in writing. He had already questioned all the witnesses. And so, if we were supposed to say that, then it means you can abort any matter by just deciding that you're fallen sick. He could have appeared virtually and followed the proceedings.
You mean deciding that you've fallen sick?
Yes.
You decide?
Yes. Obviously, I mean, who believes that story that he was unwell?
You don't think he fell sick?
No, I don't think he fell sick, but that's my personal opinion. It was a trick to try and stall the process and delay.
But we saw him. He was in hospital for a few days. His doctor spoke.
Yes, but I remember, remember also, he can follow the proceedings from the court. Ask me, what prejudice did he suffer? The evidence that he had already presented before the House and was available to everyone, plus the attached evidence was already before Senate, and he had already presented it and filed it. And even if he had spoken in Senate, he would have spoken only within what was in that document. He's not allowed to go outside it. So which other evidence would his personal appearance have done? And his lawyers could have remained to ensure that the process continues.
All right.
They could have been present.
All right.
And let me also explain that when Senator Maanzo says that there is no IEBC, and therefore they had raised the issue that the...
I thought you should leave that to the courts because it's still active.
No, just the deputy... No, I'm not speaking about the merits or demerits of the case. I'm speaking... I'm very clear in what sub judice is, by the way.
Yeah,
I teach it.
No, I thought that's part of the grounds.
I'm saying he alluded to it.
I think Maanzo did a lot on that.
Yeah. He alluded to it that there is no IEBC, and therefore that the deputy president was not cleared. That matter is live in court.
Yes.
The court will decide on it.
Okay.
And if the court decides on it and feels that he was not properly cleared with due process, he can still be removed from that office. That's just the way Senator Maanzo is cleared by IEBC, he goes to election. But even afterwards, after he's been elected and sworn in, it is possible through an election petition to find that he did not was not properly cleared and he's removed.
14 days.
Yes.
So if the 14 days expire, there's nothing you can do.
So these matters can continue to be
that's what
litigated.
I think I had the judges saying
that. Then the last one.
Sorry, Deputy Speaker, let me circulate the question. I had the judges say that Professor Kindiki will remain in office up until 2027 at the next election, or when the court gives a contrary order.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And so, Mheshimiwa Kenan, let's make progress because we are where we are.
Mheshimiwa Kenan will give me a minute of yours.
Professor Kithure Kindiki.
Allow her to...
Yeah, let me give a minute.
Professor Kithure Kindiki is now Deputy President, and there's so much work to be done. There are questions being asked about SHIV, SHA, housing programs, university education, taxation. How do we proceed, knowing there's all this perception that institutions are intimidated, captured and everything, yet work has to be done?
I really wanted to request him to give me a minute to respond to something that he has misled Kenyans.
Please. Make it 45 seconds. Then
okay, let me make it 45 seconds. He talks about the relocation of people who lived on the riparian zone of the Nairobi River. And he says, during the relocation, people died. That is inaccurate. It was during the floods that people died. And as a result of that, there was a cabinet decision for relocation. So people did not die. People did not die during the relocation.
People are dead, and some are still as a city mortuary.
Okay, we'll check that. Please carry on, Mheshimiwa Kenan.
Thank you. Before you respond to your question, you know, in Parliament there's something called filibustering. Filibustering.
That's what you are doing.
Just like there's filibustering actually all over the world, especially when you don't want a particular debate to end. What our friends wanted to do in the impeachment process was something called legal
filibustering.
Or call it judicial gerrymandering. But I think the court
have gone for full trial.
But I think just to be fair, because regardless of the merits and the demerits of the conservatory orders that we have seen all over, whether they are procured through ex parte orders or inter parte orders, I think we just leave it there because it would be unfair to make the judiciary as a subject of discussion in this particular media discussion. I beg to differ with that. We allow them. That's why we have institutional separations of role. Let them do what they want to do. And we have ties. If Rigji and cohort are not satisfied with that particular ruling, I'm sure they have the Court of Appeal and ultimately the Supreme Court. I think we just leave it there. And we have all to accept this. Now, coming back to the issue that you have asked, now that we have the new kid of the block, the Honorable Professor Abraham Kindiki. Luckily, for the first time in the history of this country, we have two PhD holders, one as the president, the other one as the deputy president. In the academic world, whether you call them in the academic world or in the academia world, and I think they qualify in both. Yep. We expect certain things. And I think I like the way the president has put it. We have challenges, serious challenges. We have a challenge, serious challenges. We have issues concerning, first of all, they have to think of who's going to be the next interior CS and bring a competent CS to handle that critical docket. Two, in the next few months, we'll be having the budget policy statement.
Right.
We have had this economic turmoil as a result of what has happened. We need to deal with it. I believe as part of the national menu, we have the Raila AU candidature. I think it's one of the things that we must deal with as a country. We have the issue of serious corruption incident, which the president has again alluded to, which we must deal with so that we avoid wastages. And more fundamentally, we have the issue of national unity, because we have a country. We have one, and I want to refer you to this, my brother. Look at two things. Where is this? The first is the preamble.
Right.
The preamble of our current constitution. And the framers of the current constitutions were not fools. They say, we the people of Kenya, acknowledging the supremacy of the Almighty God of all creation, honoring those who heroically struggle to bring freedom and justice to this. Proud, this is the bit, proud of our ethnic, cultural, and religious diversity.
Right.
Determined to live in peace and unity as one indivisible, sovereign nation. And this is the gist. I'm elected from a constituency.
Yep.
But I also come from a community. That community is part of
Kenya.
the national mosaic that constitutes the sovereign Republic of Kenya.
Right.
So whatever that I do must reflect that national thinking. And that's why I've had a problem with those of us who are mesmerized with village politics, with villagers, with ethnic cocoons, with tribal profiling. And remember, those great Kenyans who fought for this country before independence, taking into account our history as a nation, and all of us are familiar with the basic history of the Republic of Kenya. When we proclaimed our independence, we did not proclaim our independence as ethnic communities. We proclaim our independence.
Kenan, to be fair, villagers have no problem. Villagers are just people living in a
I'm coming to the point. So one of the roles of the deputy president, and that's the bit I'm coming to, of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable Professor Abraham Kindiki. And those of us who have gone to Moi University, we are told, outside the academic platform, and I'm sure you are also one of the products, please remain human. That's one of the things, remain human. So meaning therefore, outside the powers and privileges, we expect Professor Kindiki to assist the president first in uniting the country. That's number one. Two, in assisting the president and the people of Kenya in realizing their aspirations. Their aspirations in what? We want Kenya to develop, to join the League of Developed Nations.
Right.
And that cannot just be a theoretical wish.
All right.
We need national unity.
Yes.
We need economic recovery. We need to deal with the corruption. We need to deal with the budgetary deficit. That I like the way the Honorable Mbadi has just the other day put it. He says there are more resources in this country that we can tap into than lining up and begging the IMF and the World Bank. I think these are practical challenges that we must all accept and face. So Professor Kindiki, where you are, we expect you to be a unifier. We expect you to be a go-getter. We expect you to be loyal. We expect you to go beyond your village and become the deputy president of the 47 plus tribes of Kenya. We expect you to be loyal to the appointing authority. The appointing authority in two ways: the president and the institutions and the people of Kenya through the constitution. Through the constitution.
That's fine.
And that is the only way we can all appreciate.
Let's transition. I just wanted to make a correction. Mheshimiwa Deputy Speaker, indeed, Ian Otieno was 18 years old when he was killed during the evacuation exercise in Mathare. He would have been sitting his KCSE exam this morning. And the details are that it is an earth mover that got to his skull, and that's how he died.
But yes, there were people who died.
There are many more.
No, many more died during the floods itself, and that's why people are being evacuated.
You are disputing that people died during evacuation.
Yes, he said many people died. Their bodies are still in the city mortuary. Yes. Well, that's what he said.
One case is...
Yeah, one case is known. So it's exaggeration that he makes.
Senator, because you still have 3 years in that house that you think has been captured.
That is doing nothing.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the assistance, but allow me to deal with this. Senator, you still have to do your work.
Yes.
You say that the judiciary is intimidated, and recently several decisions have come, including that overturned the decision of the Court of Appeal on the Finance Act 2023.
Yes.
So what shall you do?
Well, first of all, I want to encourage Kenyans not to give up. And one of the rights Kenyans have to practice under the Constitution, and that's why IBC has to be set up. Kenyans have to register as Kenyans and get IDs indiscriminatively. And they must not be discriminated at all. Then Kenyans must also, IBC should be set up quickly. Let Kenyans register as voters so that they can now exercise, and especially the Gen Zs who have come out strongly, can exercise, you know, their right to vote in 2027. Because I believe, from the look of things, the current government will not deliver a single promise in its manifesto. It is day in, day out. There is a lot of injustice in the country. And for example, there was nothing which would have stopped a full trial. The Constitution, in its wisdom, provided 74 days to sort out an issue if there is a problem with the deputy presidency. And that's why that is enough time for the court
But I'm sure you know 74 is
the maximum. The maximum.
Is your reading.
No, it begins from 14 days. You have 60 days plus another 14.
But 1 day is within 74.
1 day is within.
Yep.
And also, you can do it in a day, or you can go out to 74 days.
Yep.
And therefore, when you have 74 days, the Constitution has made it clear there is no urgency. Because even if there is no president and there is no deputy, the speaker is there.
But the judges say that the Constitution does not foresee a situation where the office of deputy president is vacant.
Well, no, that's not the case. It does.
That's what the judges say.
The judges can be wrong.
More than the period.
The judges can be wrong. That's why there's a Court of Appeal, and that's why there's a Supreme Court. That's why if you are dissatisfied with a judge, then you have got to go to the next level.
In your reading, for how long can the office of deputy president be vacant?
The maximum is 14 days. And even if the Constitution says, even if you don't have the president and you don't have the deputy, you have the speaker. And even if the speaker isn't there again, the House will appoint another speaker who will serve the same purpose within and those days, within another 60 days.
I think
within another 60 days, you still have a president. So there is no gap in the law.
This is not the situation. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry?
This is not the situation.
The fear was in case that situation arose, and the Constitution had taken care of it. So what we are looking for is justice in this country, first and foremost.
All right.
Because without justice, then you'll never have the national unity. Then you'll never have all these things, aspirations of the country. So justice is the first thing you must give to Kenyans and to every single Kenyan, including that little boy who was killed in that movement of people. There's no justice for him. And many others who have been killed by this administration while quelling riots and in the exercise. This is not an accident. It's a wrong decision which has caused a death. And the state should be sued for that. I am very sure justice can never be given to this family. In this dispensation, Kenyans must bring in a government which is just and belongs to the people. But the current government...
Senator, 3 years is such a long time for us to get justice. You're saying that we wait for IBC
I can assure you
the election.
There will be no justice given to Kenyans, no development, no single implementation of a project. What is happening, there is a lot of hijack of institutions, capture of institutions. Corruption is ruling us right now, and there are no institutions to deal with this. You know, the government is not, the people's strength is not being felt through the leaders they elected.
Okay. Now, it's past 8 a.m. Let's take a look at the feedback that has come at Citizen TV Kenya. Sam Gichuku, the hashtag use is Citizen DAYBREAK. And we begin with MC Rumors. You're saying that why is it that when it comes to matters of common wananchi, there's no quorum in parliament? The kind of spirit that they use to impeach Gachagua shows that they don't represent the interest of the Kenyan people. Legislature is now rubber stamp for the executive. I am Kaka Edu. President Ruto has been in power for the past 2 years. Is it now that he has realized it's time to work? Kenyans need to see him deliver, not mere words. If only the speed he used to remove Rigathi was applied in service delivery, Kenya would be far. Babu Michael, the reality is we have a sworn-in DP of Kenya regardless. My question has been, was it necessary for him to go through IBC? And if it was, did he? This exercise was rushed and many due processes may have been skipped. What precedents are we setting? Atanas Mavuti is saying that inform my good Senator Manzo that according to the current constitution, there is no co-presidency. There is president and DP. DP is the principal assistant to the president. Let us not misinform the public. Rev. Harry Kosgei, you're saying, let all leaders put away their bitterness, self-interest. Thus, I do urge all leaders to work for all Kenyans, irrespective of tribe. It is now work, not politics. God bless. And I think that's the best place to leave it at. Mheshimiwa Eden Kainan, Deputy Speaker Gladys Boss, Senator Dan Manzo, for making time for us of this conversation. We look forward to more conversations in correcting what's not working and, of course, finding answers to the questions that exist. Up next is Sporty Monday. They are very happy here to come and walk through the action of the weekend and, of course, what's ahead of everyone, including the prayer session for Arsenal. My name is Sam Gituku. Bye for now.